Daniel, I seem to be having difficulty with my camera. Not sure what the problem is, but I'm assuming you can hear me.
Yes, indeed. We can hear you and we can see your screen. I'm not sure why the video is not coming through, but if you want to proceed.
Yes, I'll just proceed. Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, Mayor, members of the board, and Mr. Puente. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you this morning about some effective, unconventional contracts from the Conservation Department. These are performance contracts with community nonprofits that expand our reach and our credibility in the community we serve. The amounts I'll go over at the end are for 3 years, and the contracts have 2 one-year optional extensions. All of the contracts are in a not-to-exceed performance structure with no guarantee of payment to the service providers. Conservation programs started back in 1992, and there was almost an immediate demand that exceeded the capacity of staff for education on topics related to water efficiency. One of the most requested topics then and still today was help with transforming water-hungry landscapes into attractive ones that reflect a conservation ethic. We frankly get a lot of newcomers here to San Antonio, which we love, but landscaping here is a very different thing than in other parts of the country, and people need help. SAS began meeting this need way back at the beginning of conservation through a combination of programs and education, recognizing that no rebate will be successful if people lack the knowledge and skills they need for success. We found that our customers responded positively to expert community volunteers, like the master gardener you see in this image, who's helping a customer design her landscape. The idea with partnering with nonprofits was to expand the reach of our staff, who could only see so many people and be at so many community events. We're often asked how it is that we've reached a point in San Antonio where 2/3 of our single-family customers have used at least one conservation program, which is a remarkable market penetration and participation rate. And one of the answers is these agreements with organizations that have a far reach and credibility in the community. Several years ago, the Texas Water Development Board, having heard about these agreements that we have, asked us to help write them up as a water conservation best management practice that was formally adopted by the Water Development Board. They tell me from the board staff that this is one of the BMPs that they most frequently recommend to water utilities that are getting their 5-year conservation plans ready and struggling to figure out how to have a better impact. The agreements have also been highlighted over the years many times at conferences and through workshops with organizations like the AWWA, EPA, and most recently we were interviewed about them by the Pacific Institute. Our customers get a lot out of this. Because we have these agreements, we're able to offer more than we could otherwise in the way of workshops, presentations, staffing at community events, special events like guided landscape tours, and our new Water Saver Rewards program that gamifies participation in programs. But the topics we cover are very practical. Fundamentally, we're helping people clear up confusion about high water bills, training people on how to take care of their new home and their new landscape, assisting people with their desire to transform to a different style of landscape, teaching about new technology, and addressing environmental concerns. We're very particular, though, about which organizations fit with this kind of agreement. There are several requirements that they have to have. Of course, they've got to be a nonprofit, 501c3 in good standing, and able to demonstrate that by sharing their documentation paperwork with us. They've got to be local to San Antonio, of course, and they have to have water conservation expertise. In addition, their mission has to naturally overlap with SAS and specifically with the Conservation Department. And they have to have the volunteer or the staff capacity to do what we're trying to achieve, which is to expand our reach. A good example is Master Gardener Lou Kellogg, who's pictured here as a person who's in his retirement, made it a passion of his to become certified in rainwater harvesting. And he will be frequently at community events all over, presenting to people who are enthusiastically learning about rainwater harvesting. And then finally, the last requirement is a critical one. They have to have the administrative capabilities to be a contracted service provider for SAWS. And that's not a simple thing. It's not just responding to our procurement process and signing a contract. They also have to have the ability to have all of their activities pre-approved, document attendance in a way that's acceptable to us, and submit documentation that we need before we can invoice them. And a lot of nonprofits, frankly, don't want to deal with all of that. So we might admire them and work with them on an ad hoc basis, but they aren't all able to provide all of these things. This slide shows you the 6 organizations that we have worked with before who are returning as qualified responding organizations, and they include the Texas Master Gardeners, Gardening Volunteers of South Texas, Mitchell Lake Audubon, Green Spaces Alliance, the William R. Stinkin Eco Centro, associated with Alamo College's district, and the Botanical Society, associated with the Botanical Gardens of San Antonio. The Botanical Society is an interesting example because they maintain, of course, the San Antonio Botanical Garden, but then also specifically 2 water conservation exhibits that are part of the Botanical Gardens. And they make sure that there are education activities at those sites and through the entire facility that highlight what we're trying to help our customers achieve. I'll contrast 2 others to give you a sense of how each of these is very different, and they bring access to a different group of people than we would otherwise have. So for example, the Bexar County Master Gardeners are Texas A&M system trained volunteers who are delivering research-based horticulture education. These are folks who take a several-month training course and have to take a test. They have to do 50 hours of volunteer service a year minimum. And I'll contrast them with one that's very different, Mitchell Lake Audubon Center. This is a nonprofit that maintains a SAWS-owned property that's a wildlife sanctuary and a place for public education. The overlap with water conservation is that they're also teaching people about habitats for birds and how to maintain your own home landscape in a way that makes it friendly to urban wildlife that we want to attract. So each has a different sort of overlap with us at SAWS and different types of opportunities for providing education to our customers. I've mentioned that the contracts are entirely performance-based, so I'll go over just a little bit of the detail that's in these contracts. One of the requirements is that they must have a conservation coordinator. That is a person who is at least part-time and works closely with the staff of the conservation department so they know what our current priorities are and they can help us make sure that we're focusing on what the current customer needs are. A great example is that as we've surveyed our customers and asked them, what do you want? We have found that there are, not surprisingly, a lot of new homeowners. And some of these folks, as I've mentioned, are brand new to South Texas, or they've never had a home landscape before. And they're not interested so much in advanced topics as very basic information about how to take care of the landscape they have and how to gradually change it into one that they really think is beautiful and water saving. These contracts also include requirements such as that all of the organizations, before they engage in any activity that they hope to be paid for, they have to have it pre-approved through a process that we have where they submit it to a coordinator within the department. It gets pre-approved and then posted on our gardenstylesa.com calendar, where our customers know they can go to find education opportunities. They've got to document attendance in a way that is acceptable to us for billing purposes. They've got to co-brand with SAWS. So that means at an event like this one, the presentation itself would have our logo as well as theirs. If they're at a community event, they would have our logo at their table as well as their own. And then finally, their payment is based on what type of activity it was that was agreed upon in advance, and then attendance. So this Eco Centro conservation presentation shows a packed room. This one would be paid at a larger rate than one that, say, if they only had 10 people who showed up. And when we document that attendance with the contract going forward, we're going to be using a digital app that helps us link the customers who are attending to folks who are specifically SAWS customers. I wanted to mention what happened with COVID this past year, because you may be listening to this thinking it's ironic we're discussing a lot of education and outreach, but a lot of that has had to change so much in the past year. In mid-March, of course, everything was canceled. We had, in days, we had spring bloom planned in mid-March, and it was the right thing to do, of course, to cancel that and about 50 other events and activities that were on that garden style SA calendar. And so it looked pretty grim for a week after everybody went to the safe-at-home lifestyle. But within about a week and a half, these groups had worked with us to start offering webinars, to start pivoting to COVID-safe activities. And then as it became clear what we could do outside of the home, to offer things like walking tours at the botanical gardens that were outside and socially distanced. And then taking the most popular in-person education activities and switching them to online. We've heard a great appreciation from customers who've been really thrilled to be able to continue to learn from the safety of their homes. And it's been interesting to see that we have a different audience than we had in person. So we plan to continue the online education even as we look forward to getting back to in-person activities. There's a lot that we expect to get out of these contracts and that we have seen we've achieved before. The bottom line for our ratepayers is that this is a cost-effective method to reach a lot of people. When I look at our spreadsheets of all of the people that the staff in the conservation department has reached, we have about 12 planners who do outreach and education activities, but we reach about 20,000 people that we can document. Honestly, from other utilities I've talked to, that would be considered outstanding. But we serve 1.8 million people in our service area, and it's just not enough. When we work with and have access to about 1,000 volunteers through these organizations, we now find that every year on average, they are educating another 140,000 people on our behalf. They're finding people we probably wouldn't find on our own as well, and bringing them in to learning more about water and San Antonio water system. We work hard to, we know these people come in with expertise that we appreciate, but we work hard to turn them into water nerds on other topics. We make sure that we have opportunities for them to learn about everything from the consent decree that you just heard about to the wetlands project out at Mitchell Lake, so that they can pass on that information to our customers as well. In the end, when we look at things and we think about what it costs us on average for the education, we're reaching people at a cost per person that is 50 cents to $1 per person, depending on the nature of the event that we're hosting. On average, some the cost varies per event. What we've structured this to do at this stage is for me to answer questions, and then there is an item for each of the 6 nonprofits. So we can go through those one at a time or a vote on each, but at this time I'd like to pause to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Karen. So trustees, Karen has given you an overview for all 6 of the items before she begins the staff recommendation for the individual performance contracts. Are there any questions generally for the performance contracts?
Madam Chair, would you entertain an approval or a motion to approve this?
We will go item by item, but if there are no general questions, we can begin the a motion for item 28.
So moved.
Is there a second for item 28?
Second, Belmontes.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll commence the roll call vote. Trustee McGee?
Aye.
Trustee Hardberger?
Aye.
Trustee Ozuna?
Aye.
Trustee Belmontes?
Aye.
Mayor Nierenberg? Did we lose?
I'm sorry. I'm turning on my video here.
No problem. And Burley is a yes. So item 28 passes. Karen, would you like to read the recommendation for item 29?
Thank you. Yes. Item 29 is approving a contract with the William R. Sinkin Eco Centro, an amount not to exceed $285,000 with an initial contract period beginning December 31st and an annual contract amount not to exceed $95,000 per year.
Is there a motion for item 29?
This is Amy. I move to approve.
Thank you, Amy. Is there a second?
This is David. I second it.
Further discussion by the board? Not, I'll commence the roll call vote. Trustee McGee,
Aye.
Trustee Hardberger,
Aye, sorry, wasn't clicking.
Trustee Ozuna,
Aye.
Trustee Belmontes,
Aye.
Mayor Nierenberg,
Aye.
and Burley is a yes. So item 29 passes. Item number 30.
Item number 30 is a performance contract with Green Spaces Alliance and an amount not to exceed $150,000 for the initial contract term ending December 31, 2023, with an annual amount not to exceed $50,000 per year.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve. Belmontes.
Is there a second?
This is Amy. I'll second.
Is there any discussion by the board? I'll commence the roll call. Trustee McGee,
Aye.
Trustee Hardberger,
Aye.
Trustee Ozuna,
Aye.
Trustee Belmontes, did we lose him?
I'm here. I said aye.
Oh, sorry. Mayor Nierenberg,
Aye.
Burley is a yes. Item number 30 passes. Item number 31.
Item number 31 is approving a contract with Gardening Volunteers of South Texas in an amount not to exceed $255,000 for a contract term ending December 31st, 2023, with an annual contract amount not to exceed $85,000 per year.
Is there a motion?
Trustee McGee, so moved.
This is Amy. I'll second.
You. Any discussion? Hearing none. Trustee McGee,
Aye.
Trustee Hardberger,
Aye.
Trustee Ozuna,
Aye.
Trustee Belmontes,
Aye.
Mayor Nierenberg,
Aye.
and Burley is a yes. Item number 31 passes. Item number 32.
Item number 32 is a resolution approving a contract with National Audubon Society, Inc., Mitchell Lake Audubon Center, and an amount not to exceed $150,000 for the contract term ending December 31st, 2023, with an annual amount not to exceed $50,000 per year.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, this is Trustee McGee. I move to approve item number 32.
Is there a second?
This is Trustee Ozuna. I second.
Is there any discussion? Not, I'll commence the roll call vote. Trustee McGee,
Aye.
Trustee Hardberger,
Aye.
Trustee Ozuna,
Aye.
Trustee Belmontes,
Aye.
Mayor Nierenberg, Mayor.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I said aye.
Okay, Burley's a yes. Item 32 passes. Item number 33.
A resolution approving a contract with the San Antonio Botanical Society in an amount not to exceed $285,000 for the contract term ending December 31st, 2023, and with an annual amount not to exceed $95,000 per year.
Their motion.
This is Amy. I move to approve.
There a second?
I second. This is Belmontes.
Any discussion? I'll commence the roll call vote. Trustee McGee,
Aye.
Trustee Hardberger,
Aye.
Trustee Ozuna,
Aye.
Trustee Belmontes,
Aye.
Mayor Nierenberg,
Aye.
Burley's a yes. Item number 33 passes. We're moving now to the briefing session. Item number 34